Hello, peeps, and welcome to another Power Packed Phillips podcast. Please make yourself a note. Your homework tonight is workbook page 26, problems 13 and 14. Homework tonight, workbook page 26, problems 13 and 14. All right, these are your notes for today. It's going to go in your notes/homework spiral. This is going to be lesson 3.8 again. Part 2, we're going to continue talking about rewriting equations and formulas. I remember in our last podcast we talked about normally an equation has a variable, it has constants, and it has coefficients. But now we're going to talk about what we call literal equations. And literal equations are going to have a lot of variables. They're going to have a lot of letters or variables. So if you would, please take a moment and write down this literal equation. A equals h over 2, parentheses b1 plus b2. Please write that literal equation in your spiral. They asked us to solve for h, and this is the area of a trapezoid. So first thing I want you to do is I want you to draw a little tornado on top of the h. That's what we're solving for. And there's our tornado siren to let us know that we're going to have to get our letters away from that h. Now remember that the a over here is safe because the tornado cannot go across that force field unless we deactivate it. So we're going to have to move the 2, and we're going to have to move the b1 plus b2 away from that tornado. So remember, you want to move everything away from the tornado. Okay, my first suggestion, I'm going to say to get rid of the fraction, and this is the fraction I'm talking about right here. To get rid of this fraction, or denominator of 2, I'm going to say that you multiply by the reciprocal. To get rid of that denominator of 2, that fraction, multiply by the reciprocal. So I am going to multiply everything in this box by 2. Or this is all one term, I'm going to multiply it by 2. Remember, you're going to multiply both terms, or both sides of the equation, by 2. So that means over here, I'm going to have to multiply by 2 also. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. Multiply both terms or sides of the equation by 2. Okay, ready? Let's cross this out so I have myself some writing space later. These two are going to go and get in a fight, and Mr. Houchin is going to say, you're out of here, go to ALC. So these are going to cross each other out. Over here on this side of my equation, I am going to write that imaginary coefficient of 1, and I'm going to say that 2 times 1 gives me 2, and my dog, ruff, ruff, follows me wherever I go, so that's going to be 2a. Now, I'm just going to copy down the rest of my equation, equals h, which is my tornado. So make sure that you draw a tornado on top of the h. And I have parentheses, b1 plus b2. So, write yourself the parentheses and b1 plus b2. Now, remember, you do the opposite when you cross the line. So we have to move this b1 and b2 away from that tornado. Remember that the 2 and the a are safe from the tornado because we have our force field activated, turned on, and the tornado cannot get across that force field. So I notice that the h is touching the parentheses. I know in math when it's touching the parentheses, that means multiplication. I know that I'm going to do the opposite when I cross that line. I'm going to do the opposite when I cross the line. So the opposite of multiplication is division. Whatever you write on one side, you're going to write on the other. Now I'm going to need to move the B1 and the B2 away from the tornado. So I'm going to write B1 and B2 underneath. Why? Because that's the opposite of multiplication. Whatever I do to one side, I'm going to do to the other. So I'm going to write it over here. These are going to get in a fight. Mr. Houchin's going to say, "You're out of here. Go to ALC." So now I have 2A over fraction bar B1 plus B2. What do I have left on the other side? All I have left on this side is H, or my tornado. So ask yourself, have we moved everything away from the tornado? Absolutely. We're going to activate our force field. The tornado cannot get to the other side. So the answer to this little equation is right here. H is going to equal 2A divided by V1 plus B2. You stop when the tornado is all by itself. So, my bad. There we go. Quick review. First thing when you're solving literal equations, label the tornado. Second thing you want to try to do is get the tornado on one side of the equation all by itself. The last thing we want to remember, when you move across the fence, to the opposite of what District 12 tells you. If you remember these steps, literal equations will be as easy as it is for the Cubs to lose. See ya.